Okay, I'm just trying to see if this is working because nothing seems to be working tonight. So hold on just 1 second. Okay, it looks like we might be working. And I still can't see it on the link. But apparently everyone else can, so I'm going to carry on. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Okay, we're just going to roll with it. So we're wasting time here, and I'm very, very conscious that this is already late. So parasites and some people call it the worm full moon or the full worm moon. Either way, it's a full moon coming up. And the worm moon got its name from the earthworms that emerge at this time of the year. So, you know, often when you see the robins getting the worms and the birds getting the worms, and a lot of the time, this is actually the last full moon of the winter. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about parasites and a little bit about the moon, so that you can understand the effects of the full moon. Now, I've talked about this quite a lot over posts, but I thought I'd just do a little quick video so that you can understand a little bit more about worms, full moon, how it affects the body, etc. So the reason that it's called the full moon is exactly what I just said. Often at this time of year is when the ground starts to soften, worms appear, return of the robins, and you know, it's when you often find kids playing with worms in the garden. So let's just talk parasites quickly, because ultimately I talk about parasites a lot because the truth is most of the issues that I see with people are parasite related. And a parasite is an organism that lives in or on another organism, so otherwise known as the host. So, you know, we are the host to parasites. So those of you that are following lots of things with the Coming Alive journey, you will see that I've been talking about parasites in a wound that was eating a girl's leg. I've been talking about parasites with patients with seizures and Crohn's and colitis, some really common parasites that actually can cause different conditions. And basically a parasite derives from nutrients from the host. So often when we're looking at hair results, we're seeing that certain nutrients are being taken. It's very much, I try to explain, like when, you know, you're pregnant with a baby and they're taking your nutrients. Parasites do a very similar thing within the body, because essentially we are the host for them, which is totally gross, but it is part of nature and it is part of what happens. All of us have got some kind of parasite, bacteria, yeast. It's whether things then become you know, out of balance, which totally can happen. And, you know, if they're deriving nutrients from the host, it's at the expense of the host. And many people don't even know that half of these health conditions are caused because of a parasite. And if you've got heavy metal toxicity, you can almost guarantee that there is some kind of parasite activity going on within your body. So if you go on to the CDC, you actually will see an alphabetical list of different parasites and diseases that they cause. You go on rarediseases.org, you will find different stuff on parasites as well. If you Google NCBI or PubMed and you look at parasites or heavy metals and related to a specific condition, you will probably find them as well. So there is actually research. If you look at Dr. Hulda Clark's book from many years ago, she talks about the fact that all illnesses and diseases are caused by parasites or pollutants. And we definitely agree with that at Coming Alive, in a sense that all of the hair tests that we get back with specific conditions are either mineral balance, metal related, and almost certainly something going on in the gut, whether it be a bacterial or parasital or yeast overgrowth. So, you know, the common known ones that people may have heard of in terms of parasites are bed bugs, body lice, hair lice, pinworms, hookworms are probably the most common that you've heard of, threadworm maybe, or H. pylori, which is a parasitical bacteria. So, you know, they're probably the ones that a lot of people have heard of, but there are thousands and thousands, you know, different names, definitely hundreds. There's absolutely loads. And interestingly, a real common one that comes up on stool testing or in the frequency scans that we use is, and now I'm trying to get the name out of my head and it's just gone blank, and it will come back to me. Oh, do you know, like my brain is just absolute mush today. Hormonis. It will come back to me. It will come back to me. But there's some common parasites that basically come to different conditions. So, you know, some people have actually even seen pinworms in their children's body, and they've actually seen it. Some people, you know, have researched different parasitical, whether it be worms or other parasites. And some people, you know, have had stool testing and actually got the confirmation from it. So it's really interesting. And actually, the more you dig, the more you can see different associations with different illnesses or diseases, and where parasites are the host, basically. And it does happen, and it is really common. And often people, you know, start getting symptoms around this time of year. And actually, it's because, I say this time of year, this time of the month, it's because of the full moon. Blastocystis hormonis is what I was trying to get out of my head before it went completely bonkers. So yeah, blastocystis hormonis, interestingly, has come on many stool tests with children with either neurological seizures and different disorders. So, you know, again, we're starting to see a pattern with, you know, different conditions and different parasites, which I think again is, you know, really fascinating. So let's talk about where you can get them from, and then I'll talk about the full moon. So you can get parasites from water. So, you know, either the drinking water or recreation water, you know, so pools, hot tubs, you know, you can get parasites from water. You can get parasites from food. So undercooked meat, raw fish, sushi, fruit grown in on fields fertilized with human or animal waste, unwashed fruit and veg, urine or feces from cats or dogs. Just 1 second. Sorry, I'm back. Yeah, so let's just go back to that. Urine and feces from cats or dogs, litter trays could have parasite activity in, and, you know, clean them out. It's possible it could get on your hands, your skin, or whatever else. You know, even urine or feces from dogs, you know, if children are stepping in it, you could get parasites from that. Not that children go around stepping in it, but, you know, like when you're outside in the garden and, you know, there could be some left over, totally could get it from there. Insects. So if a person is infected with a parasite and a mosquito draws blood from that person and then goes and bites somebody else, you can get a parasite activity from that. Contaminated workers in the food processing industry, again, they can pass parasites on. Blood transfusions and walking with bare feet. So, you know, you could pick up parasites. Now, it's a tricky one, right? Because I advocate actually being grounded and having bare feet. But at the same time, that is a source of it. And often people will find that if they've already got a weakened immune system, and then some kind of bacterial infection or viral infection hits, you know, and it could be as simple as getting bitten. That's what happened with the girl's leg that most of you are following. Started from a bite and it ended up in this flesh-eating disease on her leg, which totally is parasital. And it happens in all sorts of conditions. You just don't know about it. So what happens at full moon with parasites? And this is really important because the rhythm gets affected in a full moon, which basically makes our body produce more serotonin and less melatonin. So often people will talk about the fact of needing melatonin for sleep, and often people are going, oh, I supplement my child with melatonin. But actually, if you don't understand what's going on in the body and why the body isn't producing melatonin, or, you know, what happens throughout certain parts of the month and the year, you know, people just blindly try and supplement themselves with things without necessarily understanding what's going on in the body. So parasites love serotonin because it stimulates the muscles and allows them to move around freely in the body. But when melatonin then drops, obviously it can become an issue in the body. Now, the other thing as well is that it helps, you know, when this happens at this time of the month, it helps them reproduce, and also makes them stronger because it increases their ability to feed. So obviously, you know, if we eat our food, we get stronger, we get bigger. And that's what happens with parasites when they're, you know, eating off of the host. So if you've got a heavy parasite infection, you may feel more unwell the week of the full moon. So right now, our full moon for the worm full moon is going to be on Sunday. So I heard from people 2-3 days ago that things started, whether it be tummy ache, fatigue, headache, getting annoyed, angry, whatever it might be, even starting to feel depressed, anxious, craving sugar, unable to sleep, increased levels of pain in your body, diarrhea or constipation, is often a sign of higher parasite activity. So it's really important to start noticing the patterns of these things, because then you know what you're dealing with in the body. Now, the thing that we need to remember when we're thinking about parasites is, you know, ultimately then what feeds and fuels them. And this is where, when we talk about sugar as an example, you will often, people start getting cravings for sugar, for carbs, because ultimately they feed off sugar and carbohydrates. So intestinal parasites mainly feed off sugar and carbs. Now, a heavy metal environment within the body, again, provides a breeding ground for them, but they're more common than we actually give them credit for. And, you know, if people start understanding the link to sugars and carbs, and actually the fact that many white carbs turn to glucose in the body, then we're creating that breeding ground. So even more so than ever, 3 days before and, you know, that week of the full moon, is really important to understand what's going on in your body. So often people go, what can I do? You know, if you're seeing worm activity, and it's totally gross, but I know, you know, we talk about it. You know, if you're observing the backside of your children and you actively shine the torches down their backsides looking for worms, you will often find that on their bottom around, you'll often see, if there's some kind of parasite activity going, you may not see the worms, but you may see like veins popping out, or what looks almost like a bruise on the backside, or, you know, more red, more purpley, swolleny, you know, and that often is a sign. Certainly my children, when I knew that they had pinworms, that was the case for. And you may notice itching. You may just notice that the general lethargic, or you may notice more anxiety, etc. There's just so many different things that could happen, but they may be out of sorts. And so it's really important that you know that a few days before and a few days after that could be the case. So often I say to people about, you know, some people are using biocidin. Cloves and garlic are really good. You can get it in capsule form around this time of the month, especially, you know, for full moon. Those of you that do the frequency scans, you know, that will help with parasite activity. But fueling with like anti-inflammatory foods, staying hydrated, you know, using the supplements if you've got the supplements, keeping a real low stress environment is really key, because, you know, we know that during full moon is when the activity is higher. So in terms of what you can do, I mean, I've shared this, you know, lots, and, you know, obviously I've named a few things there as well. But really, you know, my big message is don't feed them, don't fuel them, because the parasite activity is always already higher now, week going up to the full moon, than it would have been, you know, between like new and full moon, and then full moon to new moon. So it's just being aware. And I think, you know, when you've got that awareness, you can start observing and, you know, seeing what you do. So it does affect serotonin, melatonin levels. So sleep might get affected. You know, we do sometimes do the tapping to help. But low stress is key, you know, so keep nagging your kids at this time of the month is not going to help matters, because the stress, again, is going to create more cortisol in the body, which is going to affect parasite activity, which is going to affect whatever else is going on. So that's really important. If you're taking any supplementation, you know, like cloves, garlic, you know, any kind of natural herbs, go for it, carry on. And those of you that have got your own scanner, I would totally be running the parasite frequency 3 days before, 3 days after. Those of you that have got the scans, we will run as much as we can for you, because it does help to zap the parasites, and we want to decrease the activity going on rather than increase the activity going on, because ultimately our goal is to get your immune system strong. And actually, in order for our bodies to fight off and be able to deal with the parasites, we need to make sure that 1, the metals are out, 2, the body's minerals are balanced, and 3, and we've supported gut health. So that's why we, you know, focus a lot on pre and probiotic, you know, the fulvic humic acid, and it's all in the Coming Alive group. So, you know, just post any comments in there for any questions that you have. So really important that, you know, we start removing the metals, we balance the minerals, and we really help the gut, because a stronger immune system, the body then has this natural defense to be able to actually kick out and expel the parasites. And you may have a parasite overload 1 month and maybe not another, because we can get it from so many different sources, like I talked about earlier, that just because you may be free of parasites once you have 1 stool test, for example, doesn't mean that that's gone forever, because we could then go and eat some contaminated meat or fish, or water, or whatever it might be, and we then may get some kind of a reaction. So, you know, it is something that is ongoing. It is something that can affect people, which why we really advocate making sure that our immune systems are strong, which is what people are not talking about during this situation of COVID, which we believe is really important. So, you know, help get the metals out, balance the minerals, deal with gut health, reduce stress, really important. And the body will be able to fight what is going on inside the gut. So that is just a little snippet, wanting to make sure people were aware of it. Few days before, few days after, it can affect parasite activity. So it's being aware, trying to make your space super calm, and ride the wave, because it is literally like being at the sea and you're riding the wave as you go through these periods. Full moon is always a lot stronger than the new moon. And often, like I say, a few days before it can start the week of the full moon, which, you know, I notice certain things happening with people contacting me earlier in the week. So I always know when one's coming up, because my phone gets really busy the week before full moon, and you start seeing symptoms in people. So rest assured, it is normal. It's okay. You're going to have ups and downs on your journey. I know a lot of you that will be watching this are already on the Coming Alive journey. And you may feel like a bit of a yo-yo. You may feel like, oh my God, you know, it was really good one day, and now we're kind of like doing this, and, you know, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster, and it is completely normal. So don't panic. It is part of the cycle of the parasite activity, and it's totally okay. It's normal. And actually, it should give you some reassurance that you're on the right journey to healing. You know, this journey has helped people with colitis, with Crohn's, with epilepsy, with asthma, with neurological issues, brain processing, you name it. You know, things that doctors and traditional medicine couldn't help. When we've got to the root cause and we've figured that it's like gut related issues, it's solving so many things, but it is a journey and it is a roller coaster of a ride. But just be prepared for it and be okay with it, and just know that you're on the right journey. And just, you know, remember that this may be a blip. You may have a week where you just kind of go, God, I feel like I've took 10 steps backwards. But just remember, if you're on this journey for a child that's in your house, that it is not their fault. If they're more agitated or they're more irritated or more frustrated or whatever it might be this week leading up, you know, just give them a little bit of space and just give them a little bit more reassurance, rather than the no, don't do that, no, you know, and all this stuff that they just don't need because they can't help it. You know, if they're riddled with parasites, which a lot of them are, you know, they need your love first and foremost. And that's really important, because we want to lower what's going on. We don't want to provide that breeding ground. So it's a journey. It's okay. You know, you're going to have your ups and your downs, but we'll get through it together. And each month that goes by on your journey, you know, the reactions will be less and less and less. But it is a roller coaster. Totally acknowledge that. So it's early days for some of you. It's long period for some others, and you kind of like through that journey, and you might still get little blips along the way. But it's good in terms of making you understand where you're at. So it's okay. It's full moon. You may have a weekend from hell. You may not. And if you do, just try and keep it as calm as possible. So I'm just going to turn this off a second and just see if anyone's asked any questions. Okay, I can't see any, but that doesn't mean that I haven't ignored some of you. So I've tried to have a look, but technology is not on my side tonight. I'm blaming the full moon for that. So if anyone's got any questions, you can go in the Coming Alive group and pop it in there. If not, I will put a message in the event page. And if anyone's got any questions, just shout. So yeah. I will be going live at some point next week to talk about phototherapy and a few other things. Okay, I can't see any, but that doesn't mean that I haven't ignored some of you. So I've tried to have a look, but this happens all the time. Okay, I do have a question on here. Is it good to up your TRS at this time? Really good question. I always cover this in the text and forget to do it on here. Yes, absolutely. So anything that you're taking, so those of you that are on Biocidin, make sure that you carry on using it. Those of you that are on TRS, absolutely, I would be upping it. So I have increased it over the last 3-4 days with my kids, and I would continue to do so. Those of you that are taking fulvic acid, I would be making sure that you're doing it first thing in the morning, and then kind of like before dinner when the tummy is more empty again. So first thing in the morning, either do it as a shot or in a glass, and do it at night. Those of you on TRS, if you're on both, yeah, increase, make sure you're doing morning and night on the fulvic. And with TRS, I would totally be increasing it, yes. Now, what you can do, is a really good question, Sherry. So what you can do with the TRS, here's one I made earlier, is, so whatever zeolite you're using, if you hold it to your chest, and put your arm out like this, and then have someone push it down so you can see the strength. This is muscle testing. And basically you can kind of go, I need, I don't know, five sprays of TRS today, or I need 7 sprays of TRS today, and get someone to push this down and try and be strong. And then you go with which one is the strongest. It's called muscle testing. So if I was to kind of go, I need 10 sprays of TRS today, and try and push down, it was super strong. Then I went, I need 2 sprays of TRS today, and I pushed down and it went straight down. I know that that's weaker, right? And often I go up and up and up in increments of 2, and then I just divide it by 2. So if I got 10, I would go 5 and 5. If I got 20, I'd do 10 and 10. etc., etc. So you can also muscle test, which is really good at this time of the month to kind of go, do I need to increase it? You know, I can quickly just do a muscle test. If you're struggling with your arm out, you can also hold your finger together like so. And so you can see that's like strong. So show me strong, show me weak. You see what happened? My name is Louise. It's strong, so yes. My name is Bob. See, it just came out. Like, it's muscle testing. So that's doing muscles in my hand. This is muscles in your body. So again, you could go, I need 10 sprays of TRS today. Strong. I need 12 sprays of TRS today. I need 14 sprays of TRS today. Yeah, you get the gist. I need 2 sprays of TRS today. Yeah, so you can then feel which is the strongest. So you can muscle test and do it that way. Some kids don't respond very well to it. So I would absolutely increase it. Nathan downed about a quarter of a bottle of one of these last week, and it didn't do him any harm. So it'll say 2 sprays in the morning and 3 at night, but I know, you know, those people that you've seen on some of my videos were taking a lot more than that. So yeah, you can totally increase it. Good question. Right, let me just see if there's any more. Right, I don't think there's any more, but if there is, put them in the group and I will totally get on it. I'm running scans tonight. So yeah, just put a message in and I will see it. So good night. Hey, have a good weekend and I'll talk to you all soon.